Hello, everyone out there. This is Real Talk. I'm Rochelle Marie Lawson, the queen of feeling fabulous, owner and founder of Blissful Living for You. And we have a really good show for you today. I have a co host, and I'm going to let her introduce herself as well as our panelists that we have with us tonight. Our topic tonight is hunger and health. And I want to dive a little bit into that with regards to women and us taking care of our children and all of that good stuff. But before we get started, I want to say if you like the show, please share it, subscribe to the channel, subscribe, comment, watch it over and over. But the whole thing is to share it because the messages that we and the discussions that we have on the show are really about us women and how they affect us women, not only here in the United States, but around the world. These topics are real and they have heart for all of us. So I'm going to allow my co-host to introduce herself.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back. I'm Dr. Kim Brown Barber, better known as Dr. Kim. And I tell you what, I'm excited because every time we get on here and we get these topics going, it ends up spinning into a part 1 and part 2. So get ready.
All right, Dr. Kim. Excuse me. You see, she get me all choked up. That's my co-host. We tag team and we keep it real for each other, and we keep all the ladies,
loving it,
and gentlemen that watch us uplift.
That's right.
Words of wisdom. So now, Doreen, please introduce yourself to the viewers and the listening audience.
Hello, everyone. I'm Doreen Ollier. I'm from Waterloo, Ontario, Canada, and I'm one of the girls that actually wrote in the book Unstoppable as well with Rochelle. So I am very, very pleased to be on the show tonight.
Well, thank you, Miss Doreen. And yes, that book was and is a #1 best-selling book in 3 different categories. So I thank you, Doreen. We have the esteemed Dr. B with us as well. Dr. B, please introduce yourself.
Hello, you all. I'm very glad to be here. Dr. B in sunny San Diego. I wrote the book, Expect Effing More, The 5 Keys to Business Success. So I'm very grateful to be here.
Love it. Well. So we've got Ontario, Canada. We've got the Bay Area. We've got SoCal, San Diego proper. And we got me, wherever I may be right now, which is currently in San Antonio, Texas. I kind of be all over the place. So let's get started, okay? Because we only have a very short amount of time to talk, and the time goes really, really fast. Mm-hmm. And listeners and viewers, we may just have another guest join us, and if she's able to connect, we'll pop her in, and allow her to do a quick, brief introduction of herself. Mm-hmm. So our topic of discussion this evening is about hunger and health. And what I want to talk about with regards to hunger and health is this: we all want to ensure that everyone in our community has access to healthy, consistent, available food options. The purpose of this conversation is to share perspectives on food insecurity in our community, especially single mothers, and how we can create healthy ways to assist women and children that are struggling with hunger to be fed and make sure they stay healthy. And particularly in what is happening in our climate today, with the cost of food going up astronomically, the cost of gas going up astronomically, and the cost of healthcare going up as well. I want to open up with a question, ladies, with regards to hunger in our society, particularly with single mothers, so to speak. What do you see is the biggest thing that is lacking in our community right now to provide support for these women so that they can provide healthy meals to themselves and those that they are responsible for caring for? And I want to start that with you, Dr. B. What are your thoughts behind the questions?
Well, it's so sad, first of all, when we think about these things, and yet it's important to have these types of discussions. I feel like the biggest thing that is missing is care, looking out for our fellow neighbor. And I feel like whatever we do, it has to start from that place. I think we live in a world right now where people are struggling. And so, because they're struggling, it's very difficult for them to think about other individuals. They're focused on themselves. And so, they're coming from a place of lack already. So, if we come together as a community with the sense of care, I feel like we can get a lot more done.
I love that. I love that. That's so true. Doreen, I want to get your take on the question as well.
Thank you. What is lacking? I wouldn't say the same kind of care per se, as much as maybe the lack of awareness, because there are people that are actually making a huge difference once they understand and they're aware of the situation in their community. And here in Waterloo, Kitchener Waterloo, they tell me that 37% of the people that use the food bank are under 18 years of age. So children should not be hungry. They should be able to study and learn and do well. But if there's not an awareness, then people don't know if the neighbor is hungry, if they have food to eat. So making it available, but making people aware. And if I could just quickly share another story, a lady that I know from the US was a nurse in the US. Her and her husband, Dean, they went to Honduras. There, as a nurse, she was delivering babies that were deformed because there was not enough food. They didn't have enough nutrients. So what Dean did is he started setting seeds around the hospital and growing vegetables. And now they have a big piece of land that people are working. So making people aware that they themselves can help themselves just from seeds, or and then make them aware that they do need the nutrients so mothers can have healthier babies and they can grow up.
Okay,
And
we're going to dive into some more healthier choices, but I want to first of all let Dr. Kim express, because we only have a very short amount of time, but I want to let Dr. Kim express herself, and then also allow Jill to introduce herself, since she was able to pop in and get her technology working. So, Dr. Kim, what are your thoughts behind the question?
I agree with the ladies. I'm going to make mine really quick so we can get to Jill. But I agree with what they're saying. We're seeing this on the university campuses a lot. And we saw the awareness was there. The food banks are coming. Well, not even coming. They're there now because of the awareness. And so I think a lot of it still goes back to really looking at the cost of foods, because it still has to stem back to the cost of food, even for everybody to be able to take advantage of it. So I'm going to stop there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Dr. Kim. Jill, welcome to Real Talk. I would like for you to take just a brief moment to introduce yourself to the viewers and the listening audience.
Okay, hello. Thank you. Sorry about my technical difficulties there. Happy to be here. My name is Jill Cruz, and I am a board certified nutrition specialist. I have a Master of Science in Human Nutrition, and my business is called Work With Your Nature Weight Loss. So I help women over 40 lose weight in a healthy, sustainable way. And, nutrition is very important for people for health, right? Obviously. And I'll stop there, because I don't want to, I know you have a flow of questions, and I would love to chime in, anything nutrition related.
So perfect. So thanks, Jill, for joining us. I appreciate you. And it's always good to have an expert, particularly when we're talking about a subject that we have an expert in. So I was asking the ladies about, food and particularly with our single mothers, and the cost of how everything has gone up with regards to providing nutrition and sustainable essence for our bodies. But I want to ask you and start with a whole nother question with regards to the challenges that women of all ages, whether they're under 18 or over 65, 70, 80, our elderly population as well, women of all ages, with regards to the cost of food that's gone up and the choices that no longer seem as affordable to us as they used to be, particularly for people on fixed incomes. Do you see any other challenges that we may not be aware of that are existing in our communities with regards to being able to obtain healthy food and nutrition for our families and ourselves.
Yeah, even before prices have been soaring in the past probably year and a half or so, there are a lot of problems. So the government subsidizes processed food, really just cutting right to the chase. So what happens is processed foods are less expensive, and so people are making hard choices. They may want to buy fresh fruit and vegetables for their children, but if they know that their child's going to be feel full from eating more processed, less healthy foods, then that's the choice they're going to make. And that's a very challenging, I think, because you don't want your child to be hungry, but you know that those foods are not really sustaining from a nutrition perspective. So the fact that just whole foods are more expensive than processed foods is really the biggest challenge. Plus, of course, depending on where someone lives in your neighborhood, you may not have access to really nice, good produce. So one thing that I always tell moms and people who just, are on a tight budget is, if you can, do try to buy those fresh foods, if you can, or frozen vegetables, as opposed to the processed pre-made meals, because in the end, you may actually eat less of them, because a lot of the processed breads and pastas and stuff, they really don't satisfy you.
Hold tight. We're not giving it right now. Hold tight. I want to allow the other ladies to.
Thank you. Sorry.
It's a passionate subject. It's a passionate subject.
And it's real subject.
Yes, it is. Yes,
Dr. B, what are your thoughts about having availability, access for women of all ages to be able to obtain healthy food that's nourishing to their body? And Jill did bring up a valid point, and I'm going to touch a bit on it after I ask you ladies questions. But what are your thoughts about that? How do you think we can make that better?
This is huge. I mean, everyone's super passionate about this topic because it's huge, and we know that everyone deserves access to quality, good, healthy nutritional food. And this is not happening all over the globe. And it's sad to say that I think your health is still determined by your zip code. And this is very unfortunate that we live in this type of society. So a lot of the homelessness is experienced by women.
Double mic drop. We have on the show that's a mic drop when you're dropping some real facts.
Right.
Right. Yeah. That's one of the real talk, pertains that we do. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead, Dr.
So I'm just saying, so these are issues that definitely need to be addressed. I know I've worked for, and I've serviced many communities that were actually giving food to the homeless people. But again, there's a lot of rules and regulations, and you can't do everything that you want to do. And you have to know the rules, just like Doreen was saying, you have to have the information.
Love it. Doreen, what are your thoughts about access to more affordable food for women of all ages?
Well, we could go to the farmers and we can have fundraisers, as one woman did in Edmonton, Canada. She saw the homeless people begging, and what she did is she ran a dinner, and then she took the people that were homeless and had them measured and had suits made for them and had their hair cut, and they were actually the models for the dinner show. So there are so many ideas and so many things we can do as a team to be able to help the people. Right here in Kitchener-Waterloo right now, they have what they're calling a tent city. Because they don't have a place to live, they're actually set up in tents to make a point. We need more housing. We need more food.
Yeah.
And so everybody's trying to make the point that there's a real need for sure.
Yeah, they have that in California. They have that in the U.S. as well. And I know several places in California that have set up tent cities, particularly, but that's still California where, I'm diverting. So I want to get to Dr. Kim. Dr. Kim, what are your thoughts with regards to having more accessible food, healthy food for women of all ages around the world?
I think all the ladies have hit on all of it. The the cost and the zip code. I mean, that's big. We could have a talk just on that, okay? But we're not going to go there. But really, I mean, that says a lot. But I love Doreen's ideas. But also, I think in Canada, is healthcare free?
No. People think it is, like if you go to the hospital or whatever, but if you have cancer, or in my case where I broke my ankle and leg, no, it cost me $1,100 or whatever to buy the things that I needed during that time, and I didn't get any subsidy. I didn't get any help from the government for the year that I was off healing.
Okay, I was just curious because I know a lot of people
do believe that, yes,
who are listening, you know, are distinguishing, you know, between the U.S. and Canada and maybe some of the differences, but I'm hearing from you that there's not a lot of differences. That's what I'm hearing. Real talk.
If I'm admitted to the hospital tonight because I'm not feeling well, I won't have to pay the bill. Whereas if I was admitted in Florida at my Florida home, I may get a bill from the doctor for $850 or $16,000 if I had a kidney stone. So
okay, so basically
that part is different.
Okay. Ladies, we are all off topic.
I'm sorry.
That's a whole nother.
That's a whole nother issue, but it was connected to the question of policy. That's what I was trying to get to.
Yeah,
I was trying to get to that.
I do know that healthcare, the socialized healthcare that people believe is free in Canada, it's, you know, everywhere around the world. It's the more money you have, the better care you get. The better zip code you have, the better care you get. It's just the access. But back to providing healthy food. So there seems to be a misnomer, and it kind of is a little bit. I'm hearing a little bit about it here, but that only homeless people are going hungry. I have worked with people. I have worked with women that go hungry every night, and they have a job and they have kids to take care of. So I don't want anybody listening to this show thinking that we're just focusing on homeless females. It's women from all ages, whether you are, you know, 16 or whether you 86, women of all ages, whether they're in a house or living on the street. There are women of all ages that are struggling to provide themselves healthy meals and those that they love and care about. And so I want to share something real quick with regards to me when I was growing up in the 70s, 60s and 70s. I lived in the hood. I was growing up in the hood, and I didn't really know what not having food, you know, was all about, because we always had something to eat. We may have been eating chili beans with tortillas or cornbread or chicken every day. You know, back then chicken was really cheap, you know. But we always ate every day. We always had breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And in the system that I was in, they provided hot breakfast for us kids. That was something that the Black Panthers had started in the early 60s and mid 60s. But they provided hot breakfast for every child that went to that elementary school, and lunch. And it had places where you could go and get fresh vegetables. Now, growing up, collard greens was cheap. So we got our vegetables by eating collard greens, black eyed peas. All that stuff was really cheap. Like I said, chicken, you know, red beans, kidney beans, whatever, navy beans, whatever, and cornbread. But we always got that. Today, that same food is almost 10 to 15 times more pricey than it was in the 70s. And so even people that were struggling then, if they were living today, they would not be able to afford the food that was sustaining us back then. So with regards to that, how do we, Doreen shared a wonderful thing about how do we increase the access for women to get healthy food? Do we start co-ops where they learn to grow? How do we get that? How do we open that up? And Jill, I would like for you to start the answer for that question. How do we open up opportunities for women that are struggling to have food for themselves and their families? How do we open up access to get healthy food to these people? The vegetables that actually are sustainable and building blocks for our body. How do we make that available?
I mean, this is a huge problem. I'm not going to try to pretend I have an answer. I love the idea of the community gardens. The town near where I live, we have a community garden, and people anybody's allowed to partake, and I love stuff like that. Farmers markets and grocery stores, I mean, they really do have overflow. And so that, I mean, again, talking about people who are homeless or people who have to subscribe to a food bank, they can get those types of foods. But I think there are a lot of people who are kind of in the middle. We had a client who was a teacher, and she was a single mom with 2 children. And so it was really hard for her. She's a highly educated woman, but really just struggling to live and feed her children properly. So this, I think, is a systemic problem that the government really needs to come in and say, we're going to prioritize supporting local food and farms, and not these big giant corporations that manufacture food.
Love it. Doreen, what are your thoughts? How do we make it more accessible to be able to get healthy food?
I can relate. I raised 2 children on my own from age 6 and 8, and took on 2 and 3 jobs just to keep a roof over their head, food in their belly, and the things they needed. I can totally relate. And I believe that the way to come together is through our churches and through our communities. Because if we have to wait until we get another policy passed through the government and the people are going to be dying of hunger for the next 5 years, we need to be involved, and we need to be involved now. So if your church brings some sustainable food that can be distributed to people in need, some people have too much pride to come forward, but they're most likely to call their churches or reach out to somebody that they know. So I believe that would be a good one.
Thank you. Yeah, and you hit a nail on the head, and I couldn't find the mic to drop it, but some people are too proud to say they need help, and they would rather starve because their pride than to ask for help. And a lot of times, I know when I cook, I overcook. So I would love to be able to share some of my good food with people that are longing for a meal, because otherwise I can't eat it all and it ends up it's just, I'm not trying to be wasteful. It's just what happens. Dr. Kim, what are your thoughts? How do we bring more sustainable food to our communities?
I think a lot of what's been said already is happening, but at the schools, a lot of things are happening where the schools are getting together and they're making food pantries everywhere. It's become very popular now, where they are having not only the food pantries, but they're having the sustainability from the different farmers markets to come on campuses so that they can get healthy food, not just food, right? So I think more of the same of the schools and the universities and communities working together. I think it's going to take all of that to be able to have it to be more accessible to everyone, because you're right. It's not just the older women or, people who don't have houses. It's a lot more than what you think.
Oh, yeah, it's deep. And Dr. B, what are your thoughts? How do we make healthy food more accessible to the women in all of our communities?
Well, I have to agree with what everyone else said. In addition to that, I would say that we need to create businesses that give back. We need to create businesses that are change agents and not just looking to take from the community, but actually looking to be a part of the community and grow the community. So,
I
yes.
love it. I love it. All right, ladies. So, time for one last question. And with regards to our conversation about food and hunger and helping and supporting our women and those that are visible to us and those that are not visible, that are too prideful. With regards to all of this, what if you had one thing that you had the power to change in your community when it came to supporting women, food and healthy healthcare, what would you suggest? And let's start with you, Doreen. One thing.
One thing, to make people aware of the need, and then take food to them, deliver it to them. Maybe they don't have a car, or, like whenever you visit, call somebody, see if there was anything they need. Make big pots of soup and deliver it. There's so many ways that you can help somebody. You
Love,
just have to be aware who needs the help.
love it. Dr. B, the one thing.
If there was one thing that I could change, I would teach people how to love themselves deep enough first so that they could actually be able to love others.
Love it. Love it. Jill, what would you say? One thing.
I don't think I can top what Dr. B said. That was spot on. But
Yeah.
I was thinking along the lines of also bringing more local food, local farms, and children together and families together, because I think it's also important for children to learn what healthy food is. And if you live in a food desert, you may not know what that is.
I love it.
So, yeah.
Love
like
it.
that.
Dr. Kim, one thing.
Collaboration.
Collaboration.
All of these things working together, more people, and of course that comes out of love, having that compassion, right? But more people working together to be able to see this to fruition.
Okay, love it. And the one thing that I would say is teach people how to grow their food. You know, you can donate seeds. It doesn't take a lot, and you don't need a lot. You just need maybe 1 or 2 pots of dirt. You can start with growing some seeds of collard greens or some tomatoes, or, lettuce is real easy to grow. You can actually take the lettuce, and when you get to the bottom core, you can put that in water and watch it sprout, and it'll regrow itself. So I think in order, there's something in the Bible that says, and I'm not a real biblical type of gal, so if I get the quote wrong, don't beat me up. But there's something in the Bible that says if you give somebody food, you feed them. But if you teach them how to fish themselves, how to grow the food themselves, then you give them sustainability for a lifetime. And I think that's where we need to start. It's going to be small. If you have one neighbor growing lettuce, how about you grow tomatoes and the other one grows bell peppers or whatever, and pretty soon you get together and you start dibbling and dabbling and sharing the fruits of your labor. And it starts small, but it can grow into a beautiful community thing. So that's what I would say. But since we're at the end of our time, I want to thank all of you ladies for joining us tonight on this topic that's very near and dear to all of us. I know each and every one of us knows one or more people that are struggling to provide themselves with healthy meals for them and their families. So thank you for us being with us to bring more awareness to this topic. And so I'm going to let Dr. Kim close us out tonight, because she always does that to me. Tag, girl. You it. Close it.
All right. I got it. You so much. She said she always does it to me, and she's right. And she's right. I cannot deny it. But everybody, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you, whether you're listening to it, whether you're viewing it, because it comes in so many different modalities. We thank you so much, and we want you to become a part of the community. Hear more, you must subscribe, and let's get moving and helping each other out, because it all comes together when we start with love.
I love it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Real talk. And until next time, remember, subscribe, share the show, subscribe. Let's share the show. And until next time, be healthy, well, and have love and compassion for your neighbor. You never know what they may be going through. And take a piece of cornbread if you have some extra. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you.